I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me.
It's something that really tells the motorists that there may be cyclists on the roadway, to be careful not to veer over into that particular lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes the person that's not the avid bicyclist maybe use that roadway a little bit more than they would if it's just a lane with a sign.
Yeah. I mean, I think the adage, if you build it, they will come,
yes.
is a good one
yeah.
here. And it goes the same for building bigger roads. If you build it, they will come.
That's true.
If you build transit, they will
Generating
come.
congestion, yes. yes.
If you build bike paths and you build safe infrastructure for cyclists and walkers, they'll come as well.
Right. I know in some areas, and I think I saw this down in South Carolina, they do have the multi-use trails where it accommodates cyclists, skaters, and pedestrians.
Sure.
And they're nice also. I mean, there's a place for those also, but they're off the road, obviously.
Exactly, yeah. What we try to do is we try to recognize that, or to get people to recognize that cycling and walking is a viable form of transportation to get to and from a place, to get to and from work. Separated bike trails are great. I've used it. I lived in DC for a summer, and they have a bike trail from the suburbs in Maryland. It's called the Capitol Trail, right into downtown DC, like straight shot, no cars, just a bike and running trail, and those are great. But what we want to get people to recognize is that biking and walking are viable options of transportation.
Yes. I mean, one of the things I think we need to do in order to send that message is really to work on slowing down the speed of cars. Certainly, the example I use on County Road 21, the speed of those cars are on that roadway are sometimes 60, 65 miles an hour. And if you're in a bike lane right next to those high-speed cars, even if it is a colored bike lane, you're not going to feel very safe in that situation. So can you talk about some of the methods that traffic engineers use to slow down?
Sure. I think we talked a little bit about earlier about narrowing the field of vision,
right?
By planting trees or narrowing or putting creating developments along roads that are a little bit narrow the field of vision. There's also traffic calming measures that like bulb outs at corners, which increase radii to turn. So they instead of just coming right off a very quick turn, they have to slow down and make a wide, not a wide turn, but a turn that is a right.
So they can't
turn.
take it on two wheels.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, that's it. So and one of the problems we have with design like that is that's where pedestrians and cyclists are getting killed, are in those intersections because cars are just whizzing around,
just going fast.
And by creating these bulb outs, which
and I think
that
traffic engineers do that because they thought it would be at that time safer.
Yeah, for cars.
For cars, not for people. Right?
There's this movement, Police Streets movement, which is a movement at the national level, but also at state and local levels, to design roads that incorporate all different users. And users are defined as motorists, as transit users, as bicyclists and walkers, and people of all age and ability.
Right.
This is something that perhaps Brookhaven can take a step to. Is one example is in New Haven, Connecticut. They passed an ordinance creating a complete streets working group where they are drafting legislation to mandate that traffic engineers on city roads create and design roads for all users, for the cyclists. So that means making sure that that roads incorporate uses for cyclists and walkers as well. And we're also in Connecticut. We're also working on state legislation to mandate that with certain exemptions in certain cases. But they have that at the federal level, and there's and the Complete Streets Coalition in DC is a key resource to kind of
that sounds great.
Yeah. And it could be something that Brookhaven would be interested in.
No, sounds great. I mean, some of the things as far as traffic calming, the bulb outs and that, not only decreases the speed of cars, but it lessens the distance that pedestrians have to cross.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they bulb out into the roadway. And you were mentioning the raised crosswalks. That also slows down cars, because these are these the speed tables that you're referring to?
They could, well, essentially they serve the same purpose.
Okay.
They say serve that purpose, but also they make the driver aware that there's a crosswalk there.
Okay.
And generally these come with a
Right.
different color brick.
Okay.
Another thing that's helpful is pedestrian islands in the middle of roads that,
Yes.
like you said,
The medians.
decrease the length of
Right.
walking from one corner to
Yeah.
the other, and
Yeah.
is helpful to
Right.
to
So are you
protect pedestrians, but also to slow cars down because they're coming into a narrow
Okay.
in the intersection.
So where the intersection is, you'd have and say you'd have those bulb outs, and then you have the pedestrian cross, one lane of traffic or 2 lanes
Yeah.
of traffic, whatever's there. And then there'd be an island for them to,
Like a protected island.
refuge
Yeah.
for them to.
Yeah, pedestrian
Okay,
refuge. Yeah.
okay.
And like I said, it serves two purposes. It decreases the length, but it also decreases the speed of the driver because they're coming into the road may be very, very wide, and then it will just slowly, kind of gradually come into a narrower, so they have
Okay.
to slow down a little bit to get through that.
Oh, okay. And what about medians? Do they serve to also
I think
slow down
it's,
traffic, or?
they can in the right places.
Uh-huh.
At times they can be a hindrance to pedestrians trying to cross in certain areas.
Mhm.
But for medians, I mean, I guess it depends on the situation.
Mhm.
It does, like a streetscape median helps to
Mhm.
slow down drivers, because again, it's that field of vision thing.
Mhm.
It narrows the field of vision, and it also creates a
Mhm.
boulevard feel
Mhm.
if they have a nice
Right.
scaped.
Mhm.
Like if you're just going to have the rail in between,
Mhm.
that really doesn't make
No.
it a nice
No.
driving
No.
experience. So it's more of a
Usually a
streetscape.
planted.
Exactly.
A planted,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And if it's planted well, it will also serve that purpose of narrowing the driver's field of vision.
And it can create a refuge for pedestrians.
Okay.
Can.
And then the pedestrian crosses the street. We want that pedestrian to be crossing to a destination, rather than many times. It puts a smile on my face, not that it's funny, but they have sidewalks like on 25, say in Selden or Center Reach, which is 5 lanes of asphalt, and then they would have a sidewalk, and then they have another very, very large parking lot of asphalt, and obviously no one is on that sidewalk. So can you talk to how to encourage people to become pedestrians? You need to have a safe roadway, slow down the speed of traffic. We talked about the pedestrian amenities. What else is important?
It's the thing that we were talking about earlier, is the mixed use developments that tend to abut the roads. If you're exactly right, if there's a huge asphalt parking lot, it's not a safe walking environment. One, because there's cars whizzing in and out, there's a lot of curb cuts, but also there's no eyes on the street. James Jacobs, the urban theorist, is great about eyes on the street.
Yes.
If you're creating mixed-use developments and a retail at the first levels and residential levels above, you're increasing foot traffic. You're increasing the number of eyes that are washing the streets. It decreases crime. It fosters a safe pedestrian environment, and it is good for the environment because you're not driving, and it's good for economics because you have street traffic and people are going to come in and out of retail offices.
Right, and she did her studies in cities like New York
City,
and I know Boston, and she found that when you did have those eyes on the street, that's what decreased crime.
Yep.
Not the presence of police officers necessarily, but eyes on the street, activity.
Yeah. You don't have to be best friends with anyone, but it's just normal.
Right.
But, if you're part of a community, it's about building communities. It's not just about building roads to go through communities.
Right.
It's about building roads to kind of create a sense of place and to foster this different type of.
All right. So thank you for coming. This has been a great chat. I'm sure all of the viewers learned a lot about our transportation system. So thank you, Ryan. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga Choo-Choo?
Yes, yes, track 29.
boy, you can give me a shine.